Down, down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 down 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 down. Down the down the diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle diddle down the down the diddle down the down the diddle 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 diddle
Carnage! Donuts! It's all happening. We're going to be previewing a hectic round 18. We're talking captains, trade targets, and how the hell are we going to fix our forward and ruck lines? Let's go!
Hodge's done it from nowhere. Hoisting the goal from inside the field. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty! Dusty! Dusty!
G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter or X at Ball Boys Fantasy. I am back up and about and joined, as always, by my co-host, Luke Rogerson, coach of the Oxlongs. How are you, mate?
The Oxlongs were in strife this week.
I
Mitch.
think you're not alone.
I think we might all be in a little bit of trouble, but I'm adding a bit of toque trouble to that trouble as well. So
yeah, you've got a little bit extra flavour in there as well.
Yeah, fielding a couple of rookies this week. If I've even got rookies, I better bloody check. So
there will be donuts this week,
yeah.
Depending on the strength of your bench.
Yep.
Depending on who's in your forward line, some teams are going to be forced no way around it to take donuts. Hopefully, most of the people listening to our podcast are at least able to get some rookies on the field and I don't feel bad about it either, because basically that's everyone. Everyone's going to be in the same boat. And if by some miracle you've avoided the carnage and you've at least got all your premiums on the field,
pick
then
your Hilux colour then.
Yeah, go and buy a lotto ticket.
Well, we were riding the Heaney thing all week. Obviously, we worked out early that Max Gawn was going out, and it looks like we've now got the answer to the sex question.
Well, this was a question that I was worried about most of the week, and as of 5 o'clock today, it does look like Alex Sexton, I'll just confirm here, Alex Sexton has been omitted.
The answer to the sex question is unfortunately no.
We don't like it to be no.
No, it's typically not the way I like it to go either.
No, so yeah, it's a tough one. So to go through all of the carnage, we've got Max out 2 to 3 weeks. Rankin suspended for, is it 3 or 4 games? I think it's 4. It's a lot of games anyway.
Yep.
Tuke's out 3 to 4. Heaney suspended this week. Alex Sexton's now been dropped and omitted. Who knows when he's back? And Zach Fisher is also not back.
See that? Open my beer without putting it under my shirt, mate. Pretty tough hands, eh?
You are tough, mate. You
tough as woodpecker lips,
done this
mate.
before.
Don't worry about it.
So yeah, I mean, a few people would have held Zach Fisher last week, expecting him to maybe be a 1 week out. And that's going to come back to bite you on the backside. So this is, again, it's all in our forward line with the exception of Max and Tuke. But Rankin, Heaney, Sexton, Fisher, there will be some people with all 4 of those. Yep. Some people with 3. Some people with 2.
No one's talking about
plus
Tuke.
Max. Then there's idiots who still have Tuke in their team.
It's like he's irrelevant.
So how many have you got? What have you got to deal with?
I've got the 4.
You got 4,
based
okay.
on that. So I'll be fielding 2 rookies. It's just a matter of who they are at the moment.
I've got the 3 with Sexton, Heaney, and Max. So yeah, I'm going to be fielding a rookie. We're going to be trying to take some loop options tonight. So the thing is with this many players out is you can't trade in these rookies. So you're not trading in someone like Sean Manor or anything like that.
That was looking like a decent little option there early in the week,
if you
wasn't
only
it?
had the one out, and he could be a downgrade, but unfortunately not to be. You've got sort of Kruger as an option, all those Collingwood players, hold your hope out. What do you think? I mean, it's tough now that Sexton's out. So, but what do you think is the line you're wanting to take from these rookies with this kind of news and carnage?
Well, I mean, the line gets lower because of the carnage, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's you can't really expect too much, and I don't think you can be really too greedy. So, I mean,
if you have one out in your forward line and it's just the Heaney out, I'd be looking for like an 80. I think, to avoid trading him to someone else.
Yeah, if you've got Sexton there as well,
if you've got Sexton there,
it down a little bit.
Like, for example, I have to play a rookie this week. It's going to be Kruger, Billy Dowling, or Harvey Thomas, one of those 3 players. So what do we expect those guys to score? If I could get a 65, maybe a 70?
I'd almost be tempted with a 60. If you're rolling the dice on a rookie 60, that could go poor for you. So
have a look at what rookies you've got and what they've been scoring recently and what you deem to be a good score from them. And that's sort of going to dictate your line from some of those guys tonight and to start the round. So
for sure.
But we're going to have to be trading some of these guys out. Let's prioritize or rank them in terms of priorities. Who is the most urgent trade out? Who is the least urgent trade out? I think top of the priority for me is Isaac Rankin. I think he's got to go. I think Tuke is also next there because
everyone keeps forgetting about him. He's so highly owned.
Because he's in the midfield, right? So you can get a lot of good midfielders. And then Max. I think those 3, and if you've got all 3, hats off to you. Unfortunate. Those 3 I think are absolutely must trades because they've got money on their heads. They're all out multiple weeks, and they're clogging up a line except for Rankin's case, but he's out for multiple weeks.
Yeah.
The other two are clogging up lines where you've got decent scorers to go to.
Yep, 100%.
What about would you say Sexton is next? Because we don't know when he's coming back or if he's coming back. And when he was there, he was shit anyway.
That's the thing. Like you said, those other guys, you're guaranteed you're not having them for 2-3 weeks, if not more. Whereas even though it's very unlikely for Sexton to do the old yo-yo and come straight back in, there's still a chance that happens if there's injuries, if there's what. So I'd still prioritise them above. For me, Heaney is the last guy. And but prior to the Sexton news, I was kind of trying to look at a little bit of a silver lining having Touk, Gawn and Heaney, because I was thinking, okay, well, no one has Touk, so everyone will trade Gawn and Heaney, and then that means that I'll have Heaney next week, and a lot of people won't potentially if there's chaos. But with Sexton now going out, there's every chance that
a lot of people are going to hold Heaney now.
Exactly. So I might not get a little leg up there that I was hoping for.
I'm in this position, and I think some other people might be in a similar position, and I want to ask the question. Say, for example, you're trading someone like a Max Gawn to a Ruck. A lot of them are in the similar price bracket. Let's say it's Tim English.
Yep.
And you don't have enough money to get Sexton to someone like a Dylan Moore, for example, which might be your preferred trade target outside of those big four.
Yep.
But you do obviously have enough to go Heaney to a Dylan Moore because you actually make money doing that trade.
Okay.
Do you trade Heaney to Dylan Moore, field the rookie instead of Sexton, or do you trade Sexton to the best player you can afford and play the rookie instead of Heaney? So either way, you're playing a rookie. So it's kind of a case of do you lock in the Dylan Moore and set yourself the task of getting Heaney next week, upgrading a Sexton to him next week, or do you just make sure you keep Heaney, you wear potentially a lower score? I mean, that's not even guaranteed. It might be a better score. What do you think you should be doing in that situation? Or do you go down to a cheaper Ruck?
Yeah, I think I'm almost tempted to do that. I know that you could set your sights next week on bringing Heaney back into your team, but like we've seen this week, there's no guarantees week to week in fantasy with what's going to happen. So I'd almost speculate probably a little bit there on the Rucks with Gawn. I don't know if going down, De Koning as a solo Ruck, is he going to make an...
been named. Yeah, okay, he was named for the Carlton. I was looking at that option, unfortunately. And he was coming into the week with a bit of a test. So, bit of... I don't think you can go there. The only guy I think that makes enough cash for you to get up to a player like that would be Lloyd Meek, who's had some good matchups and good rounds recently. He's coming off a 94 and a 112, where he was a solo Ruck. He had that 66 against Richmond, but I think that was as a dual Ruck. And 80, 108, 124, 117 prior to that as well, all solo Rucking. So he's got a decent bit of form coming up, and he's got some good matchups. But I agree. I think he's just not at the caliber of player that I think we're looking for at this stage of the season.
We've kind of digressed to start the show, so maybe we should get this thing back on track. We've had a cheeky little super chat in there.
A little brag here.
The Prawn Star's jumped in the chat. You want to shout him out?
Yeah, well, Power Prawn Star, he's hashtag smug. He's wobbling the head. He's got no Gawn, no Sexton, no Zach Fisher. So he's only got the Isaac Heaney news to deal with. So looking pretty there, Power Prawn Star.
Happy days. Worth a brag, I reckon.
So, yeah, I think hopefully that shoots you up the rankings there, mate. Make sure you take advantage of it. So, good times for you.
We've kind of covered all the team reaction main news there in our little preamble, but do you want to give Infinite Wealth a little bit of a shout out?
Infinite Wealth brought to you, obviously by Infinite Wealth, bringing us the Content Creators Cup. Head to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy. Get yourself a free gift that they've been giving out for this season, nearly $3,000 worth in the gift there that you can head over to their website. Also, another super chat here. This is a good question for you here from... I'm going to say Lixton, Indian or Mexican tonight? What do you reckon? Indian or Mexican?
That's what this podcast has just evolved into. Yeah. It's just like...
our Friday night dinner plans.
Dinner recommendations. And you better believe it. If we look like two blokes that get takeaway every Friday night, then that's because we absolutely are.
You pigeonholed us to a T. After that person asked KFC or Hungry Jacks last week, I had the biggest craving for KFC.
The whole chat just ended up being everyone's dinner plans. What are we going, Indian or Mexican? I'm a
Mexican man.
I'm liking both on the way in, but I'm liking Indian less on the way out. So I think I'll go Mexican.
So I'm not a big spice guy. I don't know. Like, to me, Indian's just butter chicken. I know that's a very, very white man thing to say.
You're so white, bro. You're so white.
But Mexican, there's a few more things that I think I'd enjoy. So, yeah, I'll go Mexican there.
Lines up with our spicy takes, the Mexican kind of...
Yeah,
theme
sure,
there, doesn't it?
Sure. Also, I'm just not very spicy. All right. So what about if we're talking about trade options?
Okay.
Let's talk Rucks first. All right, Max Gawn, he's got to go. This is probably... I haven't done this.
Oh, you haven't?
Delete this. Yeah, my bad.
Oh.
Totally forgot to right now.
There you go.
So get that off the screen.
Back to the video. Ignore the trade targets.
But number one ruck target, I believe, for me, and maybe this is a jaded person who traded him out, but I have Tim English number one, Tristan Sherry at number two.
Okay.
Do you disagree with that? Would you have Tristan Sherry at number one if you didn't have him?
No. I like the idea of bucking the trend a little bit here. I think that, I check my numbers, but I think that Tim English would be less highly owned than the ex-Meister
much
at
more
the moment.
Unique. Yep.
And I like the idea of him having a big run to finish the year. And
so you make 40K. We save 40K going to English. And look, it's a little bit short-sighted, but Tristan Sherry, to me, has one of the hardest matchups in footy right now for Rucks this week, going up against Grundy at Sydney.
Yep.
So for me, that's a knock on him. Now, English does have Sydney in round 20 in 3 rounds' time, so it's not as though he's avoiding him for the rest of the season. But I don't know. There's an element of me thinking that instant reward, 7 weeks to go. I want to get those guys lower ownership. He obviously still has the ceiling. He's got a higher ceiling than Tristan Sherry. And, my spice take last week is he's going to be the highest averaging ruck for the rest of the season.
Hey.
And he scored 131 last week. I think there's been some bigger changes to the stoppages at the Bulldogs in the last sort of 6 or 7 weeks compared to the start of the year, and his scoring has reflected that. He's averaging over 111 points in his last 10 games. So, back closer to where I expect him to be for the season compared to how he started.
Well, it's good. You made a spicy take last week and you've been given an opportunity to put your money where your mouth is now, so we'll see how it all pans out.
Yeah, so that's more than likely where I'm going to go this week, given I do have the choice between the two. At number 3, I do have Rowan Marshall. Just talent. Obviously, fingers crossed, we don't have old Dum-de-Dum coming back into the side. And at number 4, I know a lot of people are hot on this guy. I've heard a lot of people talking about him. Toby Nankervis. I don't know what it is. I just don't think I could go there. Is it the injury history, the injury concerns? Is it the Richmond factor that they're just so bad? They could just switch things up. Look, he's coming off a 150. He has ceiling. He's a good ruckman. I don't think he's the guy that scores in different ways. He'll monster a matchup, but I don't see him getting points in transition, marks. I don't know. Maybe this is anti-Richmond bias here, but I don't think I could recommend bringing in Toby Nankervis. What are your thoughts on the name?
I mean, it looks like a decent pot in the fact that the last 6 games have been a decent average there. Giants are a good matchup. Am I right in saying that for us?
They're solid. They've been up and down.
Okay.
They were really good at the start of the year. They've gotten harder, but there's still been some ceiling scores. So obviously, English went 130 against them last week.
Yeah.
But English is a little bit different of a ruckman compared to someone like a Nank, who's very much a Tristan Sherry type, where he's just a bruiser.
In my opinion, I do think there's a little bit of safety there in English. Like, to pay $942K for Toby Nankervis seems a little bit yucky, doesn't it? So,
I don't see him having the ability to go 110 plus, whereas I do see that for English. I do see that for Rowan Marshall. Potentially see that for a Tristan Sherry.
Yeah, you don't have to look back too far to find some scores that you wouldn't be happy with as well.
100%. So I think of those options, I think Tristan Sherry is the safest.
Yep.
If you want to throw a bit more of a dart, have a bit more of an upside swing, I do think that English and Marshall are probably... I still think they've got a higher ceiling, but they do probably have a lower floor.
Yep.
Just with a few risk factors going in there. So those are how I rank the rucks. Anyone you think I've missed there? Obviously, we talked about Lloyd Meek earlier. Is that a trade you're sort of not too keen on?
Not for me on that one.
Yeah, I think I'd probably prefer to not be going there. Brodie Grundy is another option there, but he's got a tougher run over the next little bit. So he's got North and Brisbane the next 2. And then to finish the year, he's got Essendon and Adelaide, so a couple of tougher matchups. So his run to the end of the season is probably a little bit worse than some of those other guys, which knocked him off contention for me. The forwards, the good old big 4 or big 3, I guess, this week with Heaney not there. Number 2 is still Dylan Moore for me. And then I've got Jai Simkin.
Ooh.
over Brian Myers. Brian Myers, he's not on the list here. And then a little sneaky one
You salty bastard.
is Mason Wood, who I've heard some people talking about. Our stats man, Jaden Popowski, is a big fan of him.
You got Wood.
Well, I don't, but he does. No, we do think he's obviously a winger. There's no Bradley Hill this week, so that's solid. Up against Adelaide, who are a good matchup for wingers. He's had some up and down scores, so that's the issue. So he's coming off a 55, but before that he went 100, 100, 71, 130, 92. So it's like our forward line. It's pretty much like all of our forward line, but he's a little bit cheaper. And then the loss of Bradley Hill just makes me think you might have a decent amount of reward this week. But if you're shopping for cheap, I think Jai Simpkins probably a safer bet, as weird as that sounds, just with his role. Is there anyone you like the look of that is maybe a little bit left field for the forwards?
With the carnage, I don't mind the opportunity of potentially targeting a juicy matchup here, even with a key forward. Who have we
Joey
got?
Danaher versus West Coast?
Look, Danaher, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of the bloke, you can't look away at his scores. You can't dismiss his scores this year. He's actually been averaging...
So he had a 61 last week, but before that, 84, 109, 131, 102, 62, 119.
Would you have a swing at a matchup this week, you reckon?
It's risky because you're going to want to get him out next week because he comes up against the Swans after that. So I think it's dangerous. The other matchup you could look for a 1 week play is a Luke Jackson. No Sean Darcy this week up against Hawthorn, which is a very good matchup for Rucks.
Yeah.
But again, it's just risky because he's going to come up against... I mean, he's got Melbourne next week and there's no Max Gawn, right? So...
Hey, I don't even mind
But
that.
you'd expect Sean Darcy to be back. And with Sean Darcy back, we've seen, obviously, Luke Jackson not score anywhere near as well.
Yeah. But it's not even the worst thing
I think I'd probably still
in the
prefer
world.
Luke Jackson to
To a Joey Danaher.
Danaher. He's cheaper, obviously.
Yeah, and with like you said, with the Danaher, the matchup the following week not being quite as good, and if Darcy does stay out another week, then Jackson could be a smash pick for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
the thing is,
going up against a ruckless Melbourne, they might give Sean Darcy another week. Like, why would you run 2 rucks against a team like that where Petty's their ruck?
And there's not as much... If they do put out a shit score, it's like, well... It's the forward line. It's like...
that F6,
you know, that F6 spot. People are getting 60s in that F6 spot week to week. So, yeah, I don't mind either of those two options.
So I don't mind that as an option if you're looking for the 1 week play. Just know that it is a risk. We have another round like this and you're stuck with them for longer than you want.
Yeah.
It might be less than ideal. Matt Kennedy is someone that I've flirted with the idea with, but I just can't trust his role in the team. Like he's scored his last 2 tons with like 30% CBAs.
Yeah, one of the tons is off 67% game time too.
Yeah, so it was against Richmond.
Yeah.
Geelong is in there as well, so 2 really good matchups. The Giants one's probably the most impressive, but kicked 2 goals. I just have my doubts about that continuing. He's been subbed before. I just have a hard time trusting that as a safe pick. So I'm probably, again, leaning on a cheaper option in a Simpkin who's captain the club. Bit more inside time. Ceiling's probably not as... Well, I mean, he's gone 130, but probably scoring potential is probably not as good in the role, but I think the role is safer.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I kind of throw Simpkin in that... I kind of lump him in that category with a lot of those guys. You could get a 60. You might get 100. It's slim pickings. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, there's a lot of different picks, but I do think Dylan Moore's still the pick of the bunch if you don't have him. And then the Simpkin is probably the next one for me. And if you got him, then have a throw at the stumps at a Mason Wood type, or you could go a bit risky and get one of those 1 week plays. But it is a tough one this week. Someone's throwing in thoughts on Sammy Draper.
The big Draper.
We are scraping now.
He's in your keeper league team, isn't he?
No, I dropped him. He's not even good enough for keeper.
The big Draper. Someone reckons we're gatekeeping the old Draper.
No.
If I trade in Big Sammy, I've officially given up.
Take me out back and put me down. Yeah, that's No.
We've reversed mozzed him now, that bloke.
Oh, he got huge.
You got
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
150 in your forward line.
He's going up against, what is he? Going up against a Ruck. He's going up against the Max Gorn-less Melbourne, I think, this week. But, yeah, not for me. Not for me. They don't have many stoppages over there in Essendon. Yeah, but it's slim pickings. I think, hopefully one of these rookies tonight gets it done. If you've got a Sean Manor, that'd be a great little emergency loop there. But we'll definitely see.
Oh, man. I reckon we should spend most of this afternoon answering some questions because I reckon it's going to be...
Yeah, I reckon we will too. And I've just realised that I haven't done any preparation for the big boys. So why don't we, if we've got any questions to answer, and you can, I'll fix up the big boys while we do that, huh?
Oh, beautiful. I'm great at answering questions, mate. That's why I've got Tuke Miller in the team.
All right, let's go.
Hit me with one.
I'll throw a question. Oh, what are your thoughts about Philippou? We talked a bit about him on the podcast on Sunday when we did the early one there.
This guy is
cheap as
riding.
chips.
He's cheap as chips, but he's riding some serious form at the moment. So I know we've only got one game of AFL data, but what earned him his spot back in that team is
Well, in the Magoos, you mean, or
in the St Kilda team is his run in the Magoos.
Yeah.
So massive scores for 2 or 3 weeks in the Scoobies, and he's back. This to me, if somebody presents something in the forward line,
you're not going to shoot it down.
I'm almost to the point where I'm like, hey, each their own. If you think that he's a guy that can, in the right role, repeat those kind of scores, or even if you're confident with him giving you 80 for a couple of weeks, yeah, I don't mind.
I think
Philippousis.
I'm still not as keen on it, to be honest.
What if it could unlock something for you on the other end, given cash? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's always the asterisk. I think most of us won't need it with like a Max Gorn. We more than likely will need cash for the forward.
Yep.
To be honest, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, they said that he's going to be back in the midfield this week. I think they did come out and say that. All right, a couple of super chats here. Should I do a rookie to Humphreys on the bench and Butters? Then I'll have to loop either Harrison or Dowling at F6, or go Stewart to the Poussis to cover F6 for 1 week. I don't think I'd get out Stewart. So I think by default it's probably the first one there.
Bringing in Stewart.
No, I think...
No?
Or go Stewart. Oh, and...
Yeah,
oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Stewart.
I thought bringing in Stewart. Yeah, then I would flip on what I just said, and then, yes, bring him in. I think he's a good option.
Stewart and the Pooh. Cover the F6 for a week.
Oh, I think so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Looks good in that new role. And then if Geelong ever do move him into his previous role, if he's not looking good in there, they'll put him back in the middle.
Yeah,
so
I think they're going to do what they can to...
Yeah.
And there's no tags this week tonight. I mean, Collingwood won't tag him, so
should be sweet.
I think there'll be at least one really good week for him.
Jared's question, lads, I've dodged the mayhem only having Heaney to deal with, mate.
Big week for you coming, Jared.
Check your tip, because you're guessed. Can we bring in Philippou as the loop?
Also,
can we bring in Cogs?
Canelio as a pod? Great run coming up. I do know that the Giants do have a good run. What has Canelio done this week? Has he been sealing scores this season? I know he obviously had that injury. I don't think I could tick off Canelio. I know he's got Richmond this week. There's every chance he has probably his highest score for the season this week, but I think I want a bit more ceiling for the guys who are bringing in as uniques, whereas his ceiling so far this year has been 112. There's just not enough scoring going around.
So for Jared there, you'd go Philippou and activate that loop.
Can we bring in
plan?
Philippou as a loop? Yeah, I think you definitely could. I don't know, if you only had Heaney, would you get aggressive and just trade Heaney? Most people are going to have to hold him.
If I didn't have Caldwell or one of the other big dogs.
Is Dylan Moore part of a big five now?
No.
I feel the most confident about him than other options.
I do, but you're not going to throw him in as those other guys are guys you need to have in the team. Whereas Dylan Moore can still spit out a disgusting score for you. But I agree, he's the most confident. So the option there is probably, do you go Heaney to Moore is what you're asking?
Yeah, instead of trying to loop and just hold Heaney and then because, I mean, it depends where your team is, Jared. I mean, if you've got all your rookies off the field, then I would consider it. If you don't have all the rookies off the field, then I'd be upgrading the rookies and trying to do that way.
Yeah.
Because then save yourself getting Heaney next week. But if you've got all the rookies on the field and you can do some luxury trades, then getting him in next week could be not too difficult. And he's cheaper now. He's under 100k. But I think that's probably where I'd lean, to be honest. If I didn't have anything else to do, I'd probably be looking to trade Heaney after potentially have a look in some of the loops that I already have in my team, rather than trading in guys to loop first.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to do one more super chat, or do you want to throw the goggles on and we'll come back to Sam's super chat after?
Let's go goggles, and then we'll come back to Sam's super chat.
Sam,
and then,
we'll be back for you in a sec.
Let's do it. Oh, I thought we were ready to go.
Let's go.
Woo! Okay, now.
How'd your big boys go last week, Mitch?
Terrible. Terrible. But I've been hyping myself back up this week.
Have you? Okay.
And I've got some wise words for you, Luke, from the great man, Sylvester Stallone.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
That is how winning is done, Luke. And we will take the hits and we will keep moving forward.
And you've taken so many hits this year.
I am riddled with hits.
That's like receiving motivational advice from like a rich kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you've been so kissy.
Mate, you beat me by 300 points last week.
You caught one bullet.
That's a fucking hit.
You got one bullet. Suddenly you're a motivational speaker.
Oh, man. But no, we're going to get back on the horse this week.
Get back on that horse,
Get back on the horse.
Your high horse or you?
Oh, there's no high horse over here. So, number one big boy. We're going Josh Dunkley versus the Eagles. I think he's been in ripping form. And the good thing about him is no matter how good a form he is, very minimal chance he's going to get the tag. So against the Eagles, he's just going to absolutely smash them. Yes, I don't have him in my team.
So hang on.
No, hold on.
What? Hang on a second. I know what this is, Casey.
No.
I know what this is.
He's the number one big boy. He's got the best matchup for the week. He's going to go 150.
You've officially thrown out your big boys, and you're now just using him as a boss.
He's been on the big boys the last few weeks, and he's just there again. He's got a great matchup. Number two, I have Errol Goulden against the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Now, Errol, I always struggle with Errol's projections because what is he? Is he a winger? Is he inside? Is he defender? He goes everywhere, right?
Yes.
North Melbourne have actually given up the fewest disposals to any team since round 11. I saw a stat today by Fantasy Franco, a very specific time frame.
Yeah.
But they have been restrictive recently. But they do give up points to wingers. They've been giving up plus 8 points to wingers in the last 10 games. And I think with no Heaney, there's more points available in terms of a market share for someone like an Errol Goulden to pick up. They've also omitted Phillips, so less of a tagging defensive kind of, mindset going into there with Wardlaw back into the side. So he is my number two. I think he's a very good VC option first game on the Saturday. Zach Merritt seems like a good safe fallback. Again, hasn't had the ceiling scores, but against Melbourne without Max Gawn, is there potential he gets tagged by Bedford? They didn't tag Lockie Neal last week.
played in the ruck this week.
No, but like obviously, no one's tapping down Melbourne's
without Max Gawn. He should be sweet.
You know what I meant. Do you reckon they tag him? They didn't. If they don't tag Lockie Neal the week before,
yeah, I'd anticipate not. And like you said, even though Merritt hasn't been, it's ridiculous to say that Merritt hasn't been that ceiling guy because we know what he's done in the past. But hey,
I'll take a 120 after last week.
120,
fucking hell,
for sure.
Nick Dacos comes in at number 4. He'd be higher if I wasn't worried about the attention. He's got the best matchup for midfielders this week against Geelong.
That's what I was going to say. You reckon he's going to get a little...
Every team is tagging him.
He's so good. I'd tag him before the game.
Yeah.
I'd send someone into the change rooms.
Yeah, go.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
You play for the other team.
I'll just defending Max.
Fucking bang!
Straight into it. Yeah, just get the jumper.
Yeah.
Bloody national anthem.
Get the showers after the game. What are you doing here?
Yeah, so, look, he could be worth a VC shout. Just on the potential, like Geelong have done some weird shit at times.
We should do it.
Sometimes we think they're going to tag. Sometimes they don't when you think they should. I think they will. Most teams are tagging, but, I mean, Zach Merritt went 89 against Geelong when you thought that was going to be a good matchup. So he's someone that falls down to number 4, but could be as high as number 2. And then number 5, Lukey Sponge Ryan At Utah Stadium,
the
Hawthorn,
wide ground.
the wide ground.
The girthy ground.
Hopefully we won't have some wet weather they had against the Tigers.
It was just more moist. It was more your... What would you... What's the what's between sort of... What's just below moist?
Bit
damp.
Damp, yeah.
It's probably just damp.
Damp. Yeah, I'd say... Well, I didn't watch the game because
You were chucking the toys.
I was crying into my pillow. I'm just trying to check the weather in old Lono. Yeah, we got clear skies over there in Lonnie, so yeah, should be good days for marks down at Utah Stadium. So Luke Ryan gets in there at number 5. The rounding up top 10, again, less relevant at this stage, but Lachie Whitfield against Richmond could be a big one, and his teammate Tom Green. Now, you didn't tell me this, but obviously I didn't watch it, but apparently there was a tag coming from Richmond on the game against Caleb Sarong coming from Fridge.
Gross. I was too busy celebrating that my players were doing well. Brayshaw. I didn't... Was Sarong out there, was he? Yeah, fuck.
No, he was.
Brayshaw looked good.
So does Fridge go with someone like a Tom Green or go with someone like a Whitfield? And if someone's getting off the chain, do we think we switch it over or what do we... I mean, we let fucking Brayshaw do whatever he wanted, didn't we? So...
We did. That's why I've always said pick shit players.
So Lachie Whitfield could be huge, although again, I think it is a little bit damp in Melbourne this weekend. Tim English is at number 8. Okay. He would have been a lot higher if it was a solo ruck that he was going up against at Carlton, but that puts him down to number 8. Connor Rosie and Dane Zorko are there as well, just with reasonably okay matchups, and obviously they are coming off some decent form. So that is the big boys.
Redemption
hopefully
for the big boys.
We keep moving forward. Let's go. Take the hits. All right. Let's go back to some super chats
let's
here.
check out some super chats. Sam, we'll go back to you. And I think it's Sam's 10th super chat.
Hey, Sam.
Appreciate that, Sam. Thank you for supporting the show. His question is, would you get McKercher without the fish, or would you get someone like Walsh, Dacos, or Treloar for Sexton? Bit of DPP.
Okay. I really like Treloar. Treloar has Carlton this week, but then Geelong next week, I believe. Is it Geelong? It's either Geelong or Richmond. It's a really good matchup. Geelong, yeah. I think he averages the most out of all of these players.
More than Dacos?
What's this? So, McKercher without fish, or get someone like for Sexton.
So are we getting McKercher, Walsh, Dacos, or Treloar?
I think Sexton's got to go. So if you can afford someone better, like Treloar's going to score more than McKercher. So I think...
Yeah, I would imagine so. I'm hoping that McKercher still scores well without Fisher this week, but I'm not expecting 120s every week.
100%. He's a good...
They play Sydney this week as well. So
he's a good intermediate option if you don't... Maybe if you're getting a rookie up to him or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's like best 22.
Yeah.
You know, it's a high bar over there in the defence.
Yeah, complete that midfield, Sam. And I reckon, Treloar's someone that not a lot of people own, but...
I would love to have him in my side.
Based on his scoring, he should be in everyone's side, but disrespected that man. Tyler's got a sneaky super chat there as well. Gawn and Rankin to the Kirch and Romar, or with Sexy out now, should we get Caldwell for him and bench Gawn for the Krugs?
Oh, have to field 2 rooks regardless.
God,
so you can have a look at Kruger tonight.
Yeah.
With this option. So you put Kruger on your ruck R3, put the E on him, and then you can decide. Because I don't think any of these options you need to pull the trigger tonight.
No, Kurt, Romar, Sexy, Caldwell. Yeah, everyone's clear.
I think they're all clear. So have a look at Kruger, and I think if he scores... What do you think, 75?
Yeah, because I want Caldwell.
Caldwell, you want him,
for Tyler here. So.
I do think we've got to be ready for, obviously, he's going 130s every week the last 3.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like that every week.
No, it is.
He's coming up against some harder matchups soon. But I still think he's a 100+ averaging player from here, and those don't grow on trees in the forward line.
Cuddly boy. So Tyler, get a bit of Lupe Fiasco going there. Check on Kruger and let that dictate your decision.
If it's a dirty score though, then
you're going the other way. Probably.
The other way. Yeah.
Sweet as. Okay, time to do some spicy takes, mate. You got one lined up, or you're not prepared this week like me, mate?
I'm lined up. Yeah, I'm lined up here.
Okay.
Yeah,
you can't do the same. You can't do the same one 3 weeks in a row. Ole, ole. had to grab him quick. I went the underhand shake.
The underhand shake. All right. Well, what's your spicy take this week, mate? What do we got?
My spicy take is that the Kirch backs it up and goes another 110 plus because I am a genius for trading him in last week, despite you telling me not to.
Yeah. I'm a
Loser.
idiot. Fool.
So I'm going Kircher. Tougher matchup this week, but no fish. I'm going 110 plus, and he is going to be scoring well for the Ox Songs.
I am backing in my boy here.
You can't hold two maracas a single hand, man. It's like blasphemous.
I'm backing in my boy here. Brian Myers kicks 3 goals tonight. 3 goals tonight. And he goes 115 plus. 115, 3 goals, best on ground. Gets me back in the top 10. No, I'll hold that one back. and all is forgiven. No, not really. That was shit last week. But he was there or thereabouts last week. There's a couple of times his teammates burnt him. I reckon he bounces back and shows why I traded him in. It reminds me why I traded him in last week.
I think Brian might
the
leave
optimistic
you,
take this week.
I think Brian might leave you crying.
You're stealing that from old Roy, mate.
Oh, did Roy say it?
He does it for Ryan. Ryan.
Does he? Sorry,
Yeah.
Ryan.
No, it's all
Shameless stealing. My bad.
All right, let's go and answer these people's questions here. What
Absolutely.
have we got
What do
here?
we got?
Nank, English, or Romo? Now, we kind of went through this before,
Romo.
but
Tony Romo.
I'm going to go English out of the 3. I think it's the run, it's the ceiling, it's the price. It all kind of comes together to me to make him the number 1 option. I'd go Romo second and Nank third, but they're all decent options. There's obviously going to be a best option. For me, right now it's English, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm happy to get behind that one. I think Nank, for whatever reason, and this is just those little biases that we all have, but Nank for me is one of those ones I'm not going to be touching. And then Roma, I mean, he has that little caveat that there's rests often discussed, and there's also Tom Campbell that occasionally pokes his head in, isn't it? So, yeah, I'll get on the English train, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. So that should tell everyone, avoid like the plague.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, spicy take from Sam here. Jack Crisp top scores tonight. I love this spicy take, actually.
Do you?
I do, because it seems to be the guys going up against the second best player for the midfielders that does well. Think about a Caldwell.
But why do you don't have Chris, mate? Why are you loving on this?
Well, I don't love it, but I think it's a good one. I think it's very likely to happen. I don't want it to happen.
We only do selfish on this show. Have you not been here the last
I reckon
18 weeks?
I reckon it'll go pretty well. But yeah, hopefully not for me and my own selfish reasons, but I think it's a good take. All right, what else we got? Stewart versus Kirch and Marshall versus Sherry. I'm still Stewart over McKercher. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm Stewart, and I'm still Marshall as well, just for that. More Marshall for the just obnoxious ceiling. Like, the X-Monster's been good this year, but Marshall has a crazy, crazy ceiling.
So Marshall has Adelaide, West Coast, Essendon in his next 3. West Coast is a great matchup. The other 2, Essendon have been tough-ish when they play 2 rucks, but they're only playing 1 ruck at the moment. Adelaide is a bit of a neutral matchup, but a lot of stoppages at Adelaide, so that will help him. So it's interesting. X is the safe option. Roma is the risk it, the hit it for 6, as some would say. Is Stewart a trap? Asks Porn Prowstar.
Porn on the mind, mate.
Power Prawn Star. I don't think he's a trap. What do you think he could be a trap? How could he be a trap? Obviously.
Well, I mean, given his scoring for a portion of this year, there's definitely that option. But I think that Geelong have finally figured it out, and now Geelong have 2 options.
Yeah.
I kind of alluded to it before, where I think that if if the opposition doesn't want him to play in the midfield, he can go to half-back and he can play that role. And then the minute the opposition then go and dictate that he's not playing that half-back role, he goes and plays in the midfield. So I kind of think that they are now Geelong are sitting in the box seat with what they can do with Stewart.
Agreed.
And he's just a good player in
He's
general.
a great player.
He finds the pills. So.
Yeah. I think the next 2 rounds, he's pretty safe. Collingwood and then Bulldogs. I don't see any sort of major attention there, and those teams doing whatever it can to stop his influence, especially with the ability for them to move around. North, maybe, if they've got Phillips back in there, but obviously he's been dropped now, so it's a bit too far to sort of forecast. So I do think that, it's not as risky as it might appear given his scores prior to that. Obviously, he's a gun.
He is. Matt's got a sneaky little question here. Just looking at English for this first week, he's coming up against the double ruck matchup now at Carlton. Doesn't change your mind?
It does. It lowers him down. Like, he was going to be top 5 captain.
Okay, so
options this week.
So it's a trade target. We still like him. But
I still like him as a trade target. I still think it's a positive matchup.
Yeah.
And like he's like one of the most unique rucks out there, right? So the 2 ruckmen is big because you're going to have a fresh body on you at stoppages and they sort of bash into you a bit more. But English's scoring is not. It's not dictated by that as much as the other rucks. The other thing I also really like about English is the next few rounds, he's coming up against a lot of teams that are very high stoppage teams. So Carlton, one of the highest stoppage teams. I think Geelong next week is the highest stoppage team in the comp.
Okay.
And when he has those stoppage points, he gets his around the ground. Like, that's his floor almost, a bit reverse to most rucks. So when he comes up against high stoppage teams, that's when he unlocks that ceiling.
Cherry.
And his ceiling is as high as anyone's.
Well, the cherry on the cake, that would have been confusing because cherry's another ruck.
Did I say that?
No. I just said it's the cherry on his cake.
Yeah.
Anywho's, flag mantle. Who do I go? Draper, Hogan, who's got the Tigs. Hogan's got the Tigs.
Yes.
Or the Pusis.
Ooh.
It's all the flag mantle can afford this week. What do we?
Hogan, I have not considered him much at all.
Hulk Hogan.
119 last week against Carlton. I'm gonna avoid the key position players and I'll go the Pusis there, I think.
Okay. Ali's question. Dunkley, bringing in Dunkley and fielding Dowling, or go Brayshaw and Manor and then have the loop option with Dowling.
Bring in Dunkley, field Dowling. Well, what are your thoughts on Brayshaw? How confident are we that he's...
Not very confident.
What do you expect him to score? Like, if you see a...
Well, his last 3 scores are ceiling, 80. Ceiling.
Yeah.
So that to me summarises how I feel about having him in my team and my recommendation for people bringing him in. So,
well, over his last 3, he's got to be right up there.
Yeah, but
121 over his last 3. I mean, obviously
the way the scores, way the scores play out, it shows you what you're going to expect. Like when he has
before that last one as well.
When he has his day, he'll have his day, and then when Sarong has his day,
Hawthorn, Melbourne, West Coast. I mean, they're good. That's a good run. Hawthorn are actually tougher than we'd probably, looking at them, you sort of expect them to be a little bit easier, but they're actually a tougher matchup. I think Dunkley.
Yeah, I was just going to say I like the idea of Dunkley, and then you just field Dowling. Everyone's now, and when I say everyone, the majority of people are likely now to be fielding a rookie this week. So if you were sort of feeling bad about, I'm fielding a rookie, be aware that most people are probably in that situation now as well.
73% of the top 10,000 own either 3 or 4 of the players dropped this week. So more than 3/4 of the comp will be fielding a rookie. That 1/4 will only have one of them out or 2 of them out, so they can trade them and avoid copping the rookie.
Why is Took in that Venn diagram? Or
oh no, Took is not in that Venn diagram. Stiff, irrelevant player. So why bother? Why bother including him?
What a guy.
Stats according to Jaden Palski, of course.
Matt has got a question. Gone to English and Harrison to Manor. Manor is going to cover the Sexmeister.
Yeah. Is Harrison playing? Or is he dropped? I didn't... Because I know he's obviously an option as a loop tonight.
Or do we miss out on Manor and trade Sexy this week? Still playing a rookie for Heaney this week.
Harrison is there tonight.
I'm dirty missing out on Manor.
Miss out on Manor and
I'm a little bit dirty this week.
Still playing a rookie for Heaney this week. I mean, it sucks, but it's also not the time of year, that missing these rooks kills you. So
It's not, yeah.
I think I'd be just trading Sexton.
This is, I'm fairly certain, like at the start of the year, we're talking about Manor as a guy who's got scoring potential in the right role and obviously, getting game time.
Yeah. So
It's an aggressive move to go Manor and then just try and cover Sexton. I mean, what do you get out of holding Sexton really? Because
exactly,
he's very unlikely to play next week, and even if he does, he's not playing
the
the role that we're hoping. Yeah.
So it just gives you the flexibility that next week, if something were to happen, say something else pops up, another issue, you've got the ability to put that fire out instead of still worrying about the thing that we've been worrying about the last 3 weeks. So
this is true.
Sexton might not come back at all this season. Weller's supposed to be back in round 19. They've already sort of flagged that. So
going into a sex drought.
Yeah, I think he does have to go.
Oofed.
All right, maybe a couple more, and then we'll let these people go figure out and panic a little bit more.
Give me a good one, Mike.
All right, what about... here's a spicy one. What about Luke Jackson as El Capitan solo ruck against Hawthorn?
Do it. Fucking do it.
Fucking do it.
Lick the stamp and fucking send it.
Send it. When do they play? Can you VC it? Oh, they play the first game of the Saturday. It's the second game of the round. Definitely a VC option. I wouldn't put the straight C on him.
No,
you can put the VC there.
Balls deep. Just put the C on him.
Straight up.
Go for broke.
100%.
Well, Sexton in the back line. Sexton... But no.
What are you going to say?
Nothing. Sexton in the back line. Who should I get in? Still don't have Sheasel. Also don't have Clark, Newman, Sinclair, Stewart.
Sheasel's probably going to get the James Jordan tag this week, right?
Go Stewart. Risk it to get the biscuit.
I think Newman might be up there for scorers, but his run of the next 3 is not the best, but his last 4 is incredible. What are the other options?
Clark, Sinclair.
They play the Crows? I think I might go Sinclair out of those options.
Okay.
Would probably he's got the ceiling, unique, and the run's not too bad. Probably would I say. One more question.
Luke's got a good question and a good name. If you've only got Heen and Sexton as your genuine issues, I've got plenty of issues. Some not genuine as well. Do I trade both to Moore and Kennedy and then get Heaney back in next week, or do I hold Heaney and bring Manor in? So we basically look, Manor.
I think you trade.
Yeah, I think so too. Given
get aggressive. Take advantage of the fact that a lot of people are going to have to field a rookie this week. If for example you were to trade in a Kennedy, he tons up. And again, it's an if, right? But it is an if.
What's the problem is because of the options. Like this, you could say get aggressive, but Luke could be sitting there holding his dick in his hand when we've all still got Heaney next week, and he cops some other bullet, and then Heaney's...
There's 100% of risk, and it would depend on where you are.
But is it worth the risk to trade in some guy that you're not even confident with anyway? Is it better off to just go, hey...
I think it could be.
You could just go, oh, hey, I trade in Manor. I really don't lose too much because I'm trading a real cheap guy that maybe gives me like an 80 to 100 this week. You little ripper, I get the cash gen going, and I've still got Heaney next week. Whereas you trade in like Kennedy, and Kennedy gets
Manor
subbed.
Scored the first game, he was subbed. He scored a 43. He was also subbed out, or he played 69% game time in game 2 of the year, and he scored a 45. You could potentially gain quite easily 50 points on the rest of the competition by trading him out.
So give me your options that you trade to, because I reckon most of the guys you list on any given day could give you a 50.
Simkin.
He gave you 62 weeks ago.
Yeah, but like I was saying, like their ceiling is just higher. Their ceiling is higher. Their floor is still not the greatest, but the upside is there, and that's what we've got to try and shoot for. We've got to try and shoot for that upside. Like you could, I mean, there's no option that doesn't have risk. Like it's all risky.
Yeah.
But I think this is the time of year. Like we're running out of time. If you're chasing, if you're trying to get higher, then I think these are the calculated risks you've got to take. And cross your fingers that you can just get Heaney back in next week. He's under 900k. Like a lot of us can just trade him back in. So
I mean, who are you going to listen to? The guy that's ranked in the top 100, or
the guy who scored 2100, or the guy who
with the
scored
great moustache?
Oh, okay. I didn't know where you're going there.
The tipper.
Look, my confidence is down a little bit. I will say that. And I've been a little bit absent this week on Ask Me on Q, but I'm going to be back on this week. I took a little bit of a mental health break from fantasy this week. I closed my tabs, didn't listen to any podcasts this week until today. Got back into it heavy for the big boys. But if you do want your questions answered, if you've asked them and they've expired on Ask Me on Q, try ask them again. I'll be active on there for the weekend. So go to askmeonq.com.au/ballboys. Get your questions answered in over there if you didn't get them answered on today's podcast. Hopefully we all get through this round and we don't have any more carnage next week. We smash out some score. We use this chaos to climb the ladder and come out better ranked next week. Until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye!